So, you've poured your heart and soul into building this incredible mobile app. But what if I told you that in the time it takes to watch this, someone out there could be planning to copy it? Today, we're going to talk about how to use a patent to put a legal shield around your creation. You know that feeling, right? It starts with that spark of an idea. You've spent countless hours, maybe months or even years, developing, debugging, designing. You just know your app is the next big thing.
But here's the reality check. In today's market, a great idea is basically a target. Without any real protection, your code can be reverse engineered, your best features copied in a heartbeat, and usually by a bigger company with a way bigger budget.
So, how do you actually defend your hard work? Well, over the next few minutes, we're going to break down the whole process. We'll kick things off with why this is so critical, then we'll get into what a patent actually is. I'll give you a 5-step guide to getting one, we'll talk about the real costs, and finally, we'll touch on some other legal tools you can use.
All right, Section 1, the billion-dollar idea problem. Look, that idea could be worth a fortune, but without legal protection, it's also incredibly vulnerable. I mean, just imagine a competitor launching a clone of your app, stealing your market share, and making a ton of money from your innovation while you're just left in the dust. That's the risk we're talking about.
So how do you build that defense? Well, that brings us right to Section 2, your app's legal shield. And let me tell you, the most powerful weapon in your arsenal is a patent.
So, what even is a patent? Simply put, it's a legal right, granted by the government, that gives you, the inventor, exclusive ownership. It literally stops anyone else from making, using, or selling your invention for a specific amount of time. Think of it like a deed to a house, but for your idea. It makes your idea a tangible piece of property that you own.
And this is why it's such a game changer. With a patent, you have the legal power to go after copycats and demand licensing fees. It's undeniable proof that the idea is yours and yours alone. And maybe most importantly, if someone does steal your invention, you can take them to court and get financial compensation. It really puts you in the driver's seat.
Okay, you're on board. You need a patent. But how do you actually get one? Let's get into the nitty-gritty here in Section 3, the 5 steps to patent.
All right, this slide is basically your roadmap. It all starts with documentation. You've got to prove your idea is real. Then a search to make sure it's actually unique. You'll almost certainly need an attorney to handle the legal maze, and then you'll file that application. Finally, it all goes to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, the folks who grant these rights. Let's start at the beginning.
Step 1 is the bedrock for this entire process. Document absolutely everything. You can't just patent a thought you had in the shower. The Patent Office needs tangible, super detailed proof of how your app works. This means keeping meticulous records of everything, from the first sketch on a napkin to detailed flowcharts and early prototypes.
And listen, this isn't just about keeping good notes for yourself. The patent application is a stack of formal legal documents. You'll need a specification, which is the deep dive on your invention. You'll need claims, which legally define the boundaries of what you're protecting, and technical drawings to illustrate it all. It's a really rigorous process, and there's no room for being vague.
This brings us straight to step 2. Just like the slide says, you have to know if your idea is truly one of a kind. Before you spend thousands of dollars, you've got to do what's called a prior art search. That's a fancy way of saying you need to dig through patent databases, like the one from the USPTO, to make 100% sure someone else hasn't actually already patented your brilliant idea.
Now, the next steps are about hiring an attorney and filing all that paperwork. But let's just pause for a little reality check. Before you even think about calling a lawyer, you need to know about the real-world hurdles. And that brings us to Section 4, costs, criteria, and caveats. Let's talk money. You can file a simple provisional patent for not too much, but if you want full protection with what's called a utility patent, you should probably budget around $15,000. Yeah, and most of that is for legal fees. It doesn't stop there either. You also have to pay maintenance fees every few years to keep it active. This is a serious financial commitment.
And it's not just about having the cash. Your idea also has to pass 3 really important legal tests. First, it has to be new, and that means truly original, not just a small, obvious tweak on something that's already out there. Second, it has to be a concrete invention, not just a cool, abstract idea. And third, it's got to be useful. It has to have a real-world practical purpose.
Okay, pay attention, because this next point is absolutely crucial. In the United States, a clock starts ticking the second your app becomes public. The day you launch it, show it at a conference, or even just describe it in detail on a blog post, from that day, you have exactly 1 year to file your patent application. If you miss that deadline, your right to patent that invention is gone. Poof, forever.
A patent is an incredibly powerful tool, no doubt, but it's also expensive, and it might not be the right fit for everyone. So what are your other options? Let's cover that in our final section, other ways to protect your work.
First off, it's super important to know the difference between a patent and a trademark. A patent protects the function of your invention, the secret sauce, the idea itself. A trademark, on the other hand, protects your brand, the name, the logo, the stuff that makes people recognize your app. You might even need both. Think of it like building layers of protection. Copyright is a layer that you get almost automatically, and it protects the literal code you wrote and the visual design of your app. Then, to protect the idea while you're still developing it, you can use a non-disclosure agreement, or an NDA. It's a legal contract that basically forces anyone you work with to keep their mouth shut. So, we'll leave you with this. Your app really could change the world. You've got a plan to build it, to launch it, to make it huge. But let me ask you, do you have a plan to protect it? Because a world-changing idea is only valuable if it stays yours.